everyone, and welcome again to the Philly Factor. I'm your host, Paul Perrello. My next guest, I have known for quite some time. Actually, I've known of him, listening to him on the radio. Not that he's that old, or I'm not old, but John Brown is one of those names synonymous with Philadelphia radio. I like to call him the dean of Philadelphia traffic. He's retired, but still, he was at the forefront of traffic reporting in Philadelphia back in the day. Not only Philadelphia, but he also spent some time in Chicago. John is out with a new book detailing his life story, a story that he chooses to share with each and every one of us. And the proceeds from the sale of his book go to a great cause. And we're going to get into all that and so much more as we welcome to the program John Brown. You wrote this book, John, that really gets to the heart of who John Brown is. The name of the book is Why Not? Conquering the Road Less Traveled. You know, the one thing in radio is that you could be, 4'3". You could be the handsomest guy in creation. You could be tall, dark, and handsome, or you could be, bald, whatever, because radio was always the theater of imagination. So for people that listen to John, they probably have conjured up all these images in their mind.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Tall, dark, and handsome, yeah. He's not necessarily tall, or dark, but he is handsome. And kiddingly, we said before, our hair may have gotten a little bit grayer, but at least we have it, John. I did tell you that.
That's right.
Your book is a tremendous read, and it's not just John Brown, the broadcaster, but John Brown growing up and facing tremendous obstacles that would put people at a pause. They wouldn't push forward. You, John, defied the odds. You didn't take no from anyone.
That's right.
You continued to move forward. We're going to get into John's life and times, but tell us, John, born in Germantown?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were born with cerebral palsy. Now,
True.
Many people may not know that, but tell us a little bit about the disability. And I hate the word disability because you have sort of broken the mold for disability, because in knowing you and working with you behind the microphone and in many of the things that we did outside of the business, it didn't slow you down. It didn't hold you down.
Yeah.
John, I always admired your work on the air, but even more so, what you have proven to people who might think a disability is, a ticket to stay inside and never see the light of day.
And I know people with cerebral palsy that have stayed inside and just lived their lives in their apartments, assisted living, and that was never going to be from the beginning. Not for me. It's just not for me. I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
My mother was the one who pushed, don't be afraid to try anything, because if you fail at something, you always learn something. So don't be afraid of trying.
Yeah. That's some great advice, because most people, when they're told no, or you can't do this, or it's not going to happen, they just wither away and go away, and they just shrug their shoulders. But
yeah,
you pushed forward. You took life by the horns, and you seized the moment, and you did what you wanted to do.
Well, when I was born, when my mother was told I had cerebral palsy, and fortunately, I'm blessed, I have a very mild form of it. It only really affects my balance and the left side of my body. So, I mean, I can't ride a two-wheel bike.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll fall over every time, and
Sure.
not for lack of trying. I can't roller skate or ice skate. I have no sense of balance. But put me on a motorcycle, no problems. Why? Because I don't have to use my feet to balance anything.
Right.
Balance is done by the motion of the motorcycle. Anyway, I was just lucky, because there are all kinds of levels of cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
And it affects motor coordination, the signal from the brain to the motors. And you can have spastic cerebral palsy. You can have hemiplegia, which is what I have, because it only has half the body, or you can have quadriplegia, which
Mm,
affects everything, including your voice.
wow.
So I was really, really fortunate.
Yeah. Um, I'm sure, you know, it wasn't easy growing up. It's not easy growing up, period. But
Yeah,
then you add in this disability, and schoolmates, kids can be brutal. If they don't like the way you look,
yeah,
they're gonna make. I don't
absolutely.
like him because he's got red hair. So your
Yeah,
life is miserable on the schoolyard playground because they don't like the way you look. But now you have this disability, and correct me if I'm wrong. As I said, I don't necessarily like the term disability, but you know, um, it is what it is, I guess, in layman's terms. But
yeah.
how did you deal with that growing up?
Well, it all depends. I never handicapped or disability was not really a problem for me. Crippled was.
Mm,
That really got me aggravated, and that got me into more fights than any other word in the history of mankind. Um, I started out in school at Widener Memorial School, and that's a
mhm,
school for special needs kids. And by the time I got into third, I didn't want to go there. By the time I got into third grade, all my friends on Seymour Street were going to St. Francis of Assisi, okay, the Catholic school.
sure.
I wanted to go. Well, the teachers got together with the nuns who got together with my parents, and they all said, this is not really a good idea
Mm,
because I'm going to go into an environment that is like me going to Mars,
mm,
totally alien. Okay, because I'll be the only one different
yeah.
compared to being one of many who are disabled. I wanted to go, and they said, "Okay, we'll give you a try." I went there, and it was tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. I remember going into the class first time with my braces, and I had braces on from the waist down to my feet on crutches, and I sounded like a Sherman tank walking down the hall, and you could hear me coming a mile away. And I had to unclick the braces so I could sit, click them to
Right.
stand up, and so everybody would look at me and all that kind of stuff. But I think the worst was a recess, like you left for lunch. We go in the schoolyard, and kids are running around and they're playing and everything. I can only stand there.
Yeah.
And I mentioned in the book there was a kid who was running around and ran into me. I'm a tank. I'm not moving. This kid bounced off of me, and if you live in Philadelphia, you understand this. Bounced off of me like a pimple ball off a brick wall. Okay, and he started crying and stuff, and I'm standing there. Not my fault. Well, everybody said it was my fault, so I had to walk away and stand over by the fence while everybody was playing. That's how that ended up. But I mean, I would stand over there, and kids would come over and call me names, come over and pinch you, and I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But you know that old little thing called karma? When I
Hmm.
got out of my braces, I learned how to fight, and that stopped real fast.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. Yeah. When did you know the broadcasting was for you? I mean, did you know at that kid in the schoolyard that this is what you wanted to do? When did that come about?
That happened in the mid 60s. I ended up being in Shriners Hospital on the Boulevard. It's now
Hmm.
down with CHOP. Uh, but I had a problem with my hip. So I ended up in Shriners Hospital, and it was something called Perthes disease. It was the deterioration of the ball and socket, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up there for a couple of months and come out of there with a cast on my body. But they had an in-house radio station. And I got interested. We went down there, and the music would be played in-house for an hour during lunchtime. And we'd play records and all that kind of stuff. And we'd read a little bit of news, like a young Paul Perrello. And the, the Inquirer or the Bulletin came out and took pictures.
Hmm.
Well, my picture was in the newspaper. I said, "Yeah, I like this," and I credit Shriners Hospital to get me that started me on my path to broadcasting. So
Wow.
I was probably maybe 15 years old.
Wow. Um, I said at the beginning, I like to call you, even though you're since retired, and so am I, but I like to call you the dean of Philadelphia traffic reporters, traffic anchors, because not a day went by that John Brown wasn't on the radio on the major stations in Philadelphia, telling us the Schuylkill Expressway is not where you want to be right now, or
That's right.
I-95 is a parking lot. Yeah, and even with all the technology that we have today, traffic reporting has changed tremendously, and both
Oh
you and
yeah.
I, we've seen it. And sometimes all the tools that we have at our disposal are just tools, but it's not necessarily the best way to communicate. It helps, but it's not the best way to communicate.
The tool is only as good as the person using it.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. So, how did you get into and everybody think, oh, traffic. Oh, it's so well. First, they think everything that we do is easy. It's far from easy.
Oh, really?
We won't even get into the program directors and the operations managers and all the other, guys and gals that came along that were going to reinvent the wheel. But how did you get into traffic reporting?
Well, for the first 10 years of my career, and it was a 44-year career, first 10 years was a DJ. I was a
Okay.
DJ at local radio stations in our area, BCB in Levittown, stations in Jersey. But Susan Murphy, who ended up in New York, was doing traffic in Philadelphia, and she was my traffic reporter. I was on the afternoon show at BCB, and
Hmm.
she said, we're looking for a traffic reporter for New York. Would you like to try out? And I said, wow, New York market, sure.
Yeah.
So I listened to who I listened to, Rod Carson,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I recorded one of his reports, transcribed it, read it verbatim on a tape, and brought it into Michael Lynette and Rod Carson. They
Right.
listened. They listened to it, and Michael Lynette said, "We're going to make you a star, John." And I said, "Wow, yeah, this is great." And they doubled my salary from what I was making at BCB, which was incredible. And then the bad news came. The guy that was running the show in New York didn't want me because I wasn't from New York.
Okay.
So what they did was Susan Murphy went to New York, which is where she was going. I took over to Susan Murphy's place in Philadelphia.
Okay.
It
All right.
started out as a producer from 3 to 11, and did traffic reports for WBCB, which is the station I left. So I
Hmm.
just went from their DJ to their traffic reporter, and then slowly but surely I got to do other stations. I got to do MMR. I ended up on IOQ with Harvey in the morning for years, and
Yeah.
then the big one, of course, was KYW News Radio, where I was their traffic reporter for over 30 years in the afternoon.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, talk about a career. Um, we're talking with John Brown, who is an author, a published author. Name of his book is Why Not? Conquering the Road Less Traveled, the broadcaster in Philadelphia. What made you decide, John, that now was the time to tell your story? I mean, as I said in the beginning, some people would say, well, over and done with. I don't need to tell my story. But what made you decide that you wanted to tell your story? And your book reads, first of all, if you're a broadcasting fan, it reads like a who's who in Philadelphia radio and Chicago. But so why did you decide now this is what you wanted to do?
Well, first of all, the book has been out actually 10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
I'm just catching up.
Yes, the book, and what we did for the 10th anniversary, we went to hardcover.
Okay.
And then in the hardcover, which I think you have,
Yeah, I do right
uh,
here. Yep.
yeah, it has a dedication page to Leone and Vicky. That's hashtag Team Leone in England, who gets all the results. So,
Hmm.
to answer your question, I wanted to write the book because I wanted people that were born with cerebral palsy and other disability, for parents who had children, for families who had kids with disabilities, or for a veteran who came back from a war disabled,
Hmm.
anything from an accident, that you can succeed despite the disability.
Sure.
Don't let the disability hold you back. And I think I'm a great example of that because, like when you're a kid, everybody asks, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" For me, I wanted to pitch for the Phillies, or I wanted to be a Marine jet fighter pilot. Okay.
Hmm.
And what they say, yeah, you can't do that. And I'd say, why not? Okay. And I would why not myself through half of my life, and I decided, I want people to know about my life. I want people to know that you can succeed and that there are ups and downs. It wasn't a joyride. I had some pretty low spots out there at times, but I got through it.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about Leone in a moment here, but one more question about the book is: was it easy for you to write the book? Not easy in like sitting down, whether you're writing by hand or you're sitting in front of a computer and typing it, but to go back all those years and to recount everything that you went through, whether it was on the playground, in a schoolyard, or being told by operations managers that you can't do this or you need to change that, or they don't like the way you say they don't like the way you say water. I mean, we've all heard those horror stories
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
people, but so I mean, so how difficult was it for you to write the book?
I bet to be honest with you, it wasn't difficult. I got a pretty good memory. I
Hmm.
can remember everything that was done to me as a kid, my surgeries, the physical therapy, and all that stuff. I can remember getting into fights. I can remember it. I remember it all, and I can remember the times when I had my emergency back surgery when I was doing traffic, which caused me problems. And the dark side of being almost addicted to drugs, to
Hmm.
painkillers for a while.
Yeah,
Not easy to write about, but if you don't write everything about yourself, then it's not a memoir.
sure.
It's just a memory book, or
Yeah,
it's you got to write the good and the bad to make it really real.
yeah. We've mentioned Leone a few times. This is a young girl living in the UK. The proceeds from the sale of your book go to help defray the medical cost of what she and her mother are going through. How did you connect with her, and why did you decide to help her in particular?
I was going on, was on Twitter back when it was Twitter, and I just happened across this video of this 6-year-old girl on her back using her head to get from one side to crawl across the floor to get to the other side of the building. And
Mm,
it's because she couldn't do anything else. She couldn't move her limbs, or she was that bad. That's how bad quadriplegia is. And she had determination in her face and a smile. I'm telling you, Paul, the smile on this kid is incredible. And I just got involved. I contacted the mother through Twitter. We ended up talking privately. She got a copy of the book. She loved the book. And I just Don and I decided that's where we want the proceeds of the book to go to. The kid's incredible. She's going through surgeries. The second one didn't turn out as well as she did. It did. Um, we're hoping that can be corrected,
mhm.
but in England, it takes forever to get anything done.
Wow.
Forever. National Health Service, oof, tough,
Yeah.
tough.
You mentioned Donna. Donna's your wife who helped you write the book.
Yep,
Um, and having met her a few times, she's a wonderful woman. How she puts up with you, I'm not sure, but
a pair.
there you go. As Ozzie Myers used to say, money walks and no money. Yeah, you know the saying.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I won't repeat it. Yeah,
It's a family
um,
show. Go ahead.
it is right. So I mean, people that are watching this interview right now, they're inspired by you and what you've gone through. There are probably, as you said, people out there that are, you know, um, listening to this and who may have, for whatever reason, have given up hope. They just decide there's nothing that I could do. But what's it like to know, John, that you're an inspiration to these people? That if John Brown can do it, and not only do it for a day, a week, a month, but you're an inspiration to so many people because of your book.
That's one of the reasons I wrote the book, Paul, because when I was growing up, I had no one. I had no one to look up and say, well, if he can do it, I can. I mean, I was born in 1951. When I was born, I had an equal chance of ending up at Penhurst. You know
Mm.
about Penhurst.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. But my parents thankfully didn't go that route. But I mean, that was an option given to a lot of parents that had children born with physical or mental disabilities. But since I didn't have someone to look up to, I wanted to write a book where anyone that's disabled, like I said before, for whatever reason, if they can look at this book and say, "Damn, if he can do it, why can't I?" Why? All you got to do is effort. It's got to be effort. You have to have the desire and not be afraid to fail.
Yeah. Because, as you say in your book, if you fail, that's a learning experience. You take
Sure.
that failure and you turn that into a learning experience,
Yeah.
and you grow from that.
Right.
So many people just take the failure as I'll use the
That's
term.
it. I'm done.
Yeah,
I
that's
failed
it.
at it. I can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing more for me to do.
Yeah.
Um, what I mean, you mentioned the guy and the gal that come back from serving in our armed forces, and some people might think, well, this book is just for disabled people, and some people that come back from the war are disabled for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
But the inspiration that we could draw from this is that regardless of who you are, where you're from, what um, um, your shortcoming might be, there is hope out there. You just got to seize the moment and just
Yeah.
and move forward. Yeah,
No, the book is for everybody, but I mean, it's mainly for people with disabilities, or for families who have children that have disabilities, or as we said, everybody else who has a disability. But I mean, it's for anybody who wants to wants to read about someone who beat the odds
yeah,
by
yeah.
working hard and having drive.
Hmm. In the few minutes that we have left, John, I mean, if we can sort of go back in time, I mean, what are those moments for you in your career that really stand out that you have? I'm sure at so many times you must have sat back and said, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm here. I know, early on, you were doing traffic from, I think, Great Britain one time.
Couple of
That,
times, yeah. When we visited over there, I was able to get on the air over there and did traffic, and I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea what, and I said it on the air. I said I have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, and I had the jocks over there laughing like crazy. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anything else that stands out? I mean, the people that you've met, the people that you've worked with, those iconic moments that stand out for you.
Well, yeah, I've worked with a lot of great people, yourself included. Rod
Yeah.
Carson. I met a lot of great disc jockeys in Philadelphia, but things that stand out for me is when the Variety Club gave me their Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow. Hmm.
That was pretty cool. And the other one that was kind of cool is when the March of Dimes gave me the Achievement in Radio Award.
Hmm.
That
Yep.
was that was kind of cool. And I know you had something to do with that.
Wow, a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, and I, and people say, well, do you do this for awards? No, I don't do it for awards. I mean, I don't go out and ask them for stuff. I do it to make sure that somewhere down the line, if I just get one person to say to themselves, I can do that, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I mean, speaking of awards, I want to mention my book got a prestigious international award
Wow.
in December of 2024, the International Impact Book Award for memoirs. And that was a big surprise.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's rightfully deserved. I mean, when you pick up the book, it's hard to put down. And John, where can people find this book?
They can find it on Amazon. It's hardback, paperback, Kindle, audio. If you're into audiobooks, it's also anywhere online that you can buy a book. You can find. All you gotta do is type in the title, and it'll come up.
Yeah. Again, the name of the book is Why Not? Conquering the Road Less Traveled. John Brown with Donna Brown, his wife. And it really is an inspirational story. It's not just about John's time in broadcasting, but John's whole life. I mean, when you think of, I mean, everybody I think looks back from time to time and say, well, you know, uh, John really did it all. I mean, John has done it all. When people said to John, Um, like he said, you can't do that. He said, why not? And that's why the book is appropriately titled, Why
Yeah.
Not? And, when I teach and I tell students, if somebody tells you no, don't take that as an answer. That's not an answer. I remember, early on, even before I got started in this business, I had a internship advisor tell me I would never work a day in this business. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. 44 years later, here I am. He's long since gone, but yeah, never take part of the double negative, but never take no for an answer,
Right.
because it really, really is not an answer. John, I mean, this book is so thorough. It's an easy read. Might you have a second book in mind, or revise this book at some time?
I am thinking about, believe it or not, doing a book about Penhurst.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of research, and I'm starting to research. And only because I was fortunate enough not to go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for people that don't know about Penhurst, just Google it and you'll find out.
Yeah.
You'll
For sure.
find out.
Yeah, it's not just a Halloween attraction site these
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
It
right.
was a real horror. It was a real horror show back then. Yeah, for
Well, and
sure.
it's one apparently one of the most haunted places in the country because those paranormal people go there all the time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. John, it was great catching up with you. Let's not make it another how many years it's been, but keep me posted about that book, and we'll have you back on again to discuss that. It's been a pleasure catching up with you, my friend.
Same here, Paul.
All right.
Enjoyed the talk.
Again, the name of the book is Why Not? Conquering the Road Less Traveled by John Brown. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul Perrello. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Philly Fact.